Your phone is ringing. You look at the screen. You see the name. And instead of answering, you freeze. You let it ring. You watch it stop. And you feel relief. Not because you hate the person, not because you're rude, but because picking up that call felt heavier than it should have. If you've ever done this isn't random behavior, it's psychological. Phone calls create something texting. Doesn't immediacy when someone calls your brain hears? Respond now. Think now. Be present now. There's no editing, no delay, no time to process. And for many minds, that sudden demand creates pressure, not panic, but tension. The same tension you feel when someone asks you a question unexpectedly. In public, your brain doesn't hate the person calling. It hates the pressure of instant response. People who avoid phone calls are often deep processors, they think. Before they speak, they choose words carefully. They replay conversations in their head. Texting gives them control over this process. Calling removes that. Not responding fast enough. So avoidance becomes psychological protection, not from people involved. Some individuals are emotionally absorbent. They don't just hear words, they feel tone. Stress, tension, on calls, emotional signals hit in real time, so even a short conversation can feel draining. Texting spaces that energy out. It allows. Preparation is exhausting. Another powerful factor is unpredictability. When your phone rings, what they'll ask of you, your brain reads unpredictability as risk, so you hesitate. You wait for a message explaining the reason first. Clarity feels safe. Surprise feels heavy. There's also boundary, psychology at play. Phone calls feel like immediate. It's access. Like someone pressing pause on your life for theirs. Even if that's not their intention, that's how it feels internally. Texting says, reply when you can. Calling says, reply now. For mentally busy people, that difference is huge. Generational conditioning adds another layer. Older generations see calls as respectful. Younger generations see calls as intrusive. Why? Because they were emotionally trained through texting, messaging, and asynchronous communication. Your brain prefers the communication style it grew comfortable with. There's also performance psychology. On calls, like you're live. Your tone, pauses, hesitations, exposed. For self-conscious personalities, it feels like being on stage. They overanalyze themselves while speaking, so avoiding calls reduces that. Performance pressure, it's not fear of conversation, it's fear of self-evaluation. Interestingly, digital communication research shows that real-time calls create higher stress responses than asynchronous messaging, because texting gives your nervous system processing space, time to think, time to feel, time to respond, and psychologically, time equals safety. But here's the twist. Avoiding calls doesn't always mean emotional distance. Sometimes it means the opposite. Caring people often delay calls when they feel mentally depleted. They want to show up fully, not half-present, so they postpone until they have emotional energy. It's not rejection, it's emotional budgeting. Anticipation plays a role too. You plan to call someone later, but the longer you delay, the heavier it feels. Your brain turns a simple call into a task. Delay creates anxiety. Anxiety creates more delay, until the call feels bigger than it ever was. Control. Psychology matters as well. Texting lets you multitask. Control timing. Control duration. Calls demand full presence. For productivity-driven or mentally overloaded individuals, that interruption feels disruptive. And despite all this, many call avoiders are socially warm in person, funny, expressive, engaging, because in person, they have visual cues, facial expressions, body language, shared atmosphere. Calls remove those cues. For visually empathetic minds, that makes conversations feel unnatural. Past conditioning can shape this too. If stressful news often arrive through phone calls, your brain may link ringing tones with emotional spikes, so even neutral calls trigger subtle dread, not consciously, neurologically. Silence plays a role as well. Silence in texting feels normal. Silence on calls feels awkward. Reflective personalities need thinking pauses. Calls don't allow that space, so they prefer mediums where silence isn't pressured. Now imagine this. Someone ends a mentally exhausting day. Low energy. Low bandwidth. A call comes in. They decline. Not because they don't care, because they have nothing left to give in that moment. There's also escape psychology. Texting allows gradual disengagement. Calls don't. Ending them feels rude. So some people avoid starting what they feel they can't comfortably exit. Perfectionism adds another layer. Perfectionists prefer structured expression. Calls introduce verbal imperfection. Texting preserves clarity, so they gravitate toward controlled communication. But balance matters. Calls build vocal intimacy. Hearing someone's voice strengthens emotional bonding. So healthy communicators regulate calls, not eliminate them. They schedule them, keep them intentional. Use them when emotional depth matters. If you avoid phone calls, you're not rude. You're not antisocial. Your brain simply prefers predictable, controlled communication environments. But awareness is powerful, because sometimes the call you avoid is the connection you actually need. Next time your phone rings, pause. Ask yourself, am I avoiding the person or the pressure? Because understanding that difference can quietly change how you connect. And maybe you'll answer one more call than you used to. Not out of obligation, but out of choice.